Good morning and welcome to Sunrise to Sunset with Pastor Gene. It is Thursday, September the 17th, and I'm delighted that you've chosen to take this part of your day to spend some time looking at the scriptures. Today, we look at Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 28. We'll conclude Matthew 16 today. You'll recall that after the confession of Peter at Caesarea Philippi, Jesus charged his disciples not to say anything, to keep quiet, that, the world's not ready to handle all of this truth. And if Jesus hadn't made it evident already, the next thing that he tells the disciples clearly shows that the world's not really ready to start hearing all of these things yet. They will speak on their own, but they don't need to be doing things too quickly. Because the very next passage, beginning in verse 21, it says, "From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo great suffering at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised." Jesus knew that if that part of God's work were revealed too soon, that all may not be accomplished in the way and manner that God intended. So he didn't want the disciples to, let's just say, spill the beans, talk too much, speak too soon. And that's the reason he wanted to keep them quiet, because as I've worked in training young clergy through the years, one of the things I've told them, and one of the things I've tried to practice, is that timing is everything. I've watched a lot of really great coaches in my life know how to work a clock better than anybody. And I learned long ago how important the timing of things are. And Jesus knew in saying these things that he was going to Jerusalem, he was going to the cross, he was going to die, he was going to be raised. All of this was part of what Jesus was doing with his mission. But you go out and tell some people this part of the story, and they're just not going to believe it. Jesus is wanting people to believe in him. Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, Peter, Gene, Seaside. The Spirit of God is what reveals these things to us. Then Peter challenges what Jesus is going to do. He says, that's not going to happen. God forbid it, Lord. This must not happen to you. It must never happen to you. And he turned, and then Jesus said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan, for you're not on the side of God, but of a man. You got your mind set on human things and not divine things." And let me just say something to everybody right now in the midst of all of this angst that we've got going on in our society and in the world. When you've got your mind set on the human things that are tearing the world apart, you do not have your mind set on God. And I did not stutter. I don't think Jesus did either. This is a very important passage. It is not up to us to tell God or others that God is doing it this way or not that way. It is up to us to share our faith and let that little yeast grow so that the kingdom of heaven can be the bread that feeds the world. Jesus goes on to say here at the end of Matthew 16 that if anyone wants to become my followers, let them deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. Again, this is consistent with divine purposes, not human purposes. The human stuff is going to all pass away, but the divine stuff is going to be eternal. And one of these days we're going to see that, because he says, "For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of the Father, and then he will repay everyone for what he has done. Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. It's either good news or frightening news, depending on which side of the coin we're on. Are we on the human side or are we on the divine side? That's a decision and a challenge that every single one of us have to make every single day from sunrise to sunset.